Hi everyone to another episode of Next Stuff. Today with us we have our very good friend Shwen Gwee. Shwen, how are you doing?
Good, thank you, Dario. Always good to reconnect with you and glad to be here. Happy 2023.
Exactly. Thanks a lot. Wish the same for the 2023, and hopefully it won't be crazy like the previous years, right?
Yes.
So let's deep dive into the conversation. At first place, many know that you are among most inspiring and influencing digital leaders in pharma, in the whole ecosystem, if you can say so. And I also know that you had your first Chief Digital Officer role 10 years ago. And my first question is, what changed in the digital world in pharma in those 10 years?
Oh, so much has changed. And, I think it was very early when I had that role. And in fact, the term Chief Digital Officer didn't barely exist at that time. This was going back to 2013, 14 or something like that. And it was sort of an understanding that, it was bringing together several different aspects of marketing and visibility and running digital across different parts of the business. So it was still on the way to being defined, but it was more than just being focused on one area. Like it wasn't just digital marketing, it wasn't just omni-channel, for example. It was much broader than that. It was really about how does digital fit into the business strategy. And so that was sort of what it meant to be. But of course, it's changed over time. For one thing, I think one of the trends that pharma went through not too long ago was hiring chief digital officers, right? And the majority of them came from outside of the pharma industry. That's definitely one trend we saw in the pharma space. Unfortunately, not many of them have actually worked out, and there's very few that still exist. So that trend has sort of come and gone, I would say. Another trend that you're starting to see is, how much more integrated digital is with the business these days. And certainly you've got, centers of excellence and omni-channel teams and other types of digital teams. Digital health, for example, is something only in the last 2 or 3 years has really become part of what a business strategy is. Digital therapeutics are having partnerships with different pharma companies. So digital is becoming much more integrated into the pharma business. Whether we've actually figured out the real model by which it works together perfectly and how to get reimbursed and what the business plan is and the business model for reimbursement is, those are still, I think, being worked out. But certainly a lot has changed from the days where we were really just looking at like social media and advertising as digital.
Exactly. Yeah. When we speak about digital, many times, or even too often, we have this premise that digital has to be new and innovative, right? Why we speak so rarely about customer experience and how digital can improve that segment? Because in my opinion, this is one of the most critical segments, right?
Yeah, I think, part of the challenge in pharma and the digital world is the definition. So digital can mean so many things to so many people, and when you apply it to pharma, where does it stop and end? Is it
Mm,
really digital referring to digital marketing? So you're talking about media and advertising? Are you talking about decentralized trials? Are you talking about real world data? Or even, SAP or ERP systems? Like where does digital start and stop? So a lot of it
exactly.
has to do with the definition and what people imagine digital to be. But certainly for me, as you think about digital, it's really just a technology platform, and it's what you would do with it that really counts. And so for me, where my passions are, where I think digital has the greatest impact, is around how it delivers better outcomes for our patients and better experiences as well. And I think that's the part where technology companies definitely have leveraged digital to drive the experiences of their customers, and that's where pharma can really learn a lot about how to actually start to deliver the same type of outcomes and impact.
Yeah, exactly. Uh, Emerging topic where pharma has to develop in digital are certainly partnerships. You are very experienced when it comes to partnerships and partnering with different integrators in the digital ecosystem. But what I really wonder is, what is your experience, your concrete experience when we speak about partnering and where to start? Because many of the pharma peers, they don't know how to start a partnership, where to look after, etc. So can you maybe debrief us in that segment?
Sure. I think there are many forms of partnerships that pharma companies can have with third parties, right? And the traditional way that we've always partnered is really through an RFP process. We go through a contract, and it's more about really a vendor that we hire in to do work for us on our behalf. Now, in the more recent years, I think you're starting to see different models of partnerships, and especially partnerships with either technology companies or with digital health startups, for example. So there's sort of newer kinds of companies and vendors that we're starting to partner with. Now, one vehicle of partnership could be investment. So you're starting to see the rise of corporate venture capital or corporate VCs within pharmaceuticals, and that's really strategic approach to how we invest in different types of companies that align with our business plan, our business strategy, and so on. Another one is forming actual partnerships where there are milestones and goals, a bit like what pharma traditionally did with assets, how they go out and partner with another pharma company to develop an asset together and bring it to market. Now they're starting to do with technology companies or digital health companies. So you're starting to see a lot of that, especially in the R&D space with like AI drug discovery companies and so on, where these partnerships occur to help leverage AI and digital platforms to drive a business strategy in the R&D space. You're also starting to see that maybe in clinical trials and so on. And so those kinds of partnerships are more formal business development driven type partnerships. And then finally, you're also seeing another type of partnership, which is really about incubators and accelerators and open innovation overall, and how they're starting to tap into the digital ecosystem, putting the challenges out there that they're trying to solve and seeing who will respond and come in to help solve those problems from the digital health ecosystem. Mostly startups are playing in that space, but it's a way to really start to experiment and try to discover new things and find solutions that you might not even have had on your radar in order to really test different hypotheses to see whether it will work and understand whether that's going to create value for you as part of your business strategy as well.
Thank you, Shwen. Next question. Why many digital initiatives actually fail in pharma? Are we maybe somehow blinded by the tech itself, or what's the reason?
Yeah, I think there are a lot of successful initiatives as well, but certainly part of the challenge is pharma is really built around a business of manufacturing drugs, and digital has come in and fit into that model rather than trying to change our model to fit the new digital world, and that's part of the challenge there. So an example of that could be the fact that we have a lot of processes in place because we're so heavily regulated. So those processes take time and require a lot of reviews and audits and signatures in order to get through. And that in turn slows down the process of being able to partner well and move quickly with a tech company. And tech companies are used to being agile, nimble, and move quickly. The whole fail fast mentality. But unfortunately, when you go in and work with a big company, and especially a pharma company that's so highly regulated, the processes are there to help protect and reduce risk. And so if you use the same process, then you're going to have to go through a very rigorous journey, and that takes time. And so that's why a lot of technology initiatives, I think, sometimes fail just going through the process, because it's not really adapted to be for the quick and nimble and agile world and iterative world of digital. The other problem, I think, is oftentimes we think we already know what the solution is. So when we go looking for a technology partner, we're looking for a solution, but we really haven't defined what the problem is well. And so understanding what the real problem is that we're trying to solve and not assuming we already know what the answer is another part of how we find the right solution to solve that problem. And then the last thing I'll say is pharma is very much used to a model where we assume we know the right answer, and therefore we're just creating an RFP to to build the solution or to execute on our vision. And so that's related to what I just said, but it also goes towards an RFP to implementation, which means you're going through a process where You're basically just building the product to the end product and then releasing it and saying, here's the final product. Whereas, a typical startup or a digital technology company is going to go through an iterative process. They're going to test and learn along the way. They don't build to the final. They go beta, right? Before they actually release something. And they've already got a lot more feedback. And that's a model we have to learn in the industry for how we start to move in a way that allows us to be much more nimble, to get a lot of feedback ahead of time, and not wait a year and spend $1 million before we release a product, for example.
Fantastic. With that said, I would like to thank you for joining our Next Stuff podcast. So thanks again, Shwen, and looking to some more pharma stuff.
Yes, thank you, Dario. And I'm looking forward to the next.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.